Hi guys, this is Lashette from Storygraph Creations, and I'm back with my April reading wrap-up, where I discuss all the books that I read, finished up in the second half of the month of April, and give you my reading stats. So April kind of half planned, half unplanned, became anticipated release April, where I read a total of 5 of my anticipated releases for this month. Some books were from my 2021 anticipated releases video, and some were from a video I did later during Blackathon, discussing the books, 3 that I was anticipating reading that would be released in 2021 by Black authors and or with Black main characters. I've already discussed some of them. I'm going to say right here and now, I did not read all of my anticipated 2021 releases. Things did not work out timing wise, and there was one other situation, but so that's fine. I will continue with the anticipated releases that I have access to into May, so look out for that in my mid-May wrap-up. And I have, like I mentioned in my mid-April wrap-up, more anticipated releases that I am aware of, so there will be a video of that coming eventually. All of that said, there will be no outfit change this time because this is late. And I want to get it all done. So let's jump into my reading stats right away. For the month of April, I read a total of 9 books. That is 1 more than last month, no big deal. But total pages read, 3,507. No hours listened, so no audiobooks this month. My average rating was 4.11, the highest so far this year, actually. I acquired one book. So the library books thing, if you care at all about these stats, could be confusing because there's overlap. Like, there are books that I took out in the previous month that I could be reading now, and then books that I took out during the current month that I won't get to right away. So I put down that I read 9 library books because I took a book out. It's more of a reference book to reference something from it. So I read that section. So I got what I wanted out of it, if that makes any sense. And I read 5 Own Voices books, so that's up. Now, for the genres, I read, to no one's surprise, as always, 8 fantasy books. I'm going to update this genre section to have it reflect the genres that I read. Right now, I have main genres and then subgenres, which I never talk about in the stats, because in my head I was like, that's how the world has things set up, right? Things are fantasy, and then there's subcategories of fantasy. But since I never talk about the subcategories in my stats, and these are my videos, and it's been annoying me that I don't talk about the subgenres in my stats. When I go to make them, it's frustrating, so I'm gonna update those because a bunch of these were like directly fantasy romance. So yeah, I read a lot of that. I read a lot of high fantasy, so I should explain that. And I read a lot of urban fantasy, so I should just put those, right? Moving on, I also read 1 romance book. Now, there is this weird. Oh, okay. I just got confused by a button on my screen. All right, formats. I read 2 ebooks and 7 physical books. For the audience demographics, I read 5 adult novels, 1 middle grade, and 2 young adult. For the gender identity of the main characters, I read 7 books with cisgender characters and 1 gender queer. Gender queer, and anyone can correct me in the comments below, is what I put when the author doesn't make it a point to have the characters outright state the specific gender identity beyond the fact that they are not cisgender, if that makes sense. So I think that's appropriate. X. As far as race goes, I read 1 book with Asian main characters, 2 books with Black main characters, and 3 books with mixed characters. The mixed is a mix of characters whose racial identity within themselves was mixed, and also where we have multiple characters of different races. So we have a Hispanic character, an Asian character, and a Black character, and they're the main characters of the book, so it's mixed. Then I read 2 books with white main characters. The character sexuality, 1 book with a female sexuality, and 2 books with queer main characters. Authors, I read 4 books with by new to me authors. 4 books. And that is so cool. But also, wow, Lashette, way to go starting new authors and new series when you haven't finished so many others. Next, I read 5 books by not new to me authors. So the types of books, I read all 8 books, which are part of series, quite a few that were the beginning of series. Last but not least, the rating. So, okay, I read 2 5-star books, 1 4.5-star book, 4 4-star books, 1 3.5-star book, and 1 3-star book. So good reading all together. Now that we have talked about the stats, let's get into the books that wrapped up the month of April for me. So after Wings of Ebony, which I talked about last in my mid-month wrap-up, I finished Monstrous Volume 2. This is a graphic novel series by Marjorie M. Lee, and the illustrator is Sana Takeda. And I gave this a 4 stars. I'm going to say this is a high fantasy series. It's very unique. We're following a main character who is missing some of her memories. She's on this quest to kind of find out what happened to her mother and to herself, really. And she's pretty much willing to do anything to get this information. This is a whole new world where there are various factions that some are at war with each other, others are at kind of this ceasefire. There are some who are trying to take over others in manipulative and insidious ways. And there's this whole cosmology and these deities that are very fascinating. I don't even know how to describe this series, quite honestly, because it's wild. It's violent. Like literally everyone is morally gray. There are humans. There are, what's the word I'm looking for? These arcanics, which are like magic users in a way. But in addition, there's also these half people, half people. They're like humans and animals mixed. I don't remember the term, and I mistakenly returned the comic book before I was done with it. And then there is the cats who have their own magic systems. Micah's mother is in the middle of all of this. Her mother is Moriko, and she's dead, right? But everybody's trying to discover her secrets because she found something, and that something has to do with Micah. And Micah also has, a thing inside of her that is very powerful and very dangerous. So she's trying to figure out what happened and how she can go forward and what her mother's plan was. Meanwhile, there are all these, like I said, all these factions trying to do the same. I'm going to try for the next volume to really get it together as far as the description, because wow. Anyway, but the whole thing is in this beautiful Art Deco style. I think this is kind of a alternate history series as well, set in this 1900s Asian society. The next book I finished, there's a whole story behind this. So I went to complete my next anticipated release, which was Wild Sign by Patricia Briggs. Now, there are 2 series that Patricia Briggs has currently ongoing right now, and they're both set in the same universe, but they follow different main characters. There is the Mercy Thompson series, which is the longer series, which I had not read the most recent 2 releases of. The last one came out last year, and that was Smoke Bitten, which was on my 2020 anticipated releases, but I had not finished and read it yet because I hadn't read the book before it. This year, in the related Alpha and Omega series, Wild Sign. And I started to read Wild Sign after Monstrous, because that was the plan, and then I got 3 pages in, and I was like, wait, what is this they're talking about? I don't remember this trial. Damn, this is probably something that happened in the other series books. So I'm gonna have to read those first. And I checked, and my library had the ebooks available for Storm Cursed and Smoke Bitten. So I picked up Storm Cursed and put down Wild Sign. So they're related universes. Everything's happening. They're in the same universe. Everything's happening at the same time, and there are things that are pertinent to both that are covered maybe in one series, but kind of glossed over in the other one, which makes sense. This has happened before, so I was like, let me read these in order of which they came out. So, Storm Cursed by Patricia Briggs. This is the 11th book in the Mercy Thompson series. Mercy Thompson is a average, well, not average girl. Mercy Thompson is a coyote shapeshifter, but she just goes about her life as a regular woman. She is a Volkswagen mechanic in somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. She was raised by wolves because her human mother, when she was a toddler, I think, came across her in her coyote form randomly and was like, what the hell? She did not know how to raise a coyote shifter. She didn't know any coyote shifters. The father was out of the picture, a Native American bull rider. It was like a one night stand, and he went on his way, and mom wound up pregnant. So, yeah, mom, once she saw that Mercy had shifted into coyote, she talked to a friend of hers, and she didn't give Mercy away exactly, but it's kind of like she had Mercy fostered under the Morocco, the leader of the werewolves of the United States. In this world, in this universe, werewolves and a couple of other were animals exist, as do witches, as do vampires, and the fae. And the only thing is that most humans are not aware of this fact. Some factions of the government know, but yeah, Mercy is just Mercy. She has a very I need to help people in need kind of thing, not like a superhero type of thing, but if she sees a regular person struggling, she wants to help, right? So a lot of stuff has changed over the course of 11 books. And in this one, there's stuff happening politically with the government and some of these supernatural beings, and Mercy is somewhat caught in the middle. I will say that witches, and something happens here with Adam towards the end that why would Patricia not wrap this up? Like, she made that seem suspicious, and I'm like, we don't get closure on that, or was that the closure and we're just letting it go? I don't know. But anyway, so that happened. What did I give this? I gave this a 5 stars because I don't know what else to give it. These books go quicker than I remembered though. So I was like, all right. I put the next book on hold, Smoke Bitten, and I'll read that soonish. The next book I finished her anticipated release was Raphael by Laurel K. Hamilton. This is the latest in the Anita Blake series, one of my all-time favorites ever. I gave it 4 stars. This is an urban fantasy series. Oh, as is the Mercy Thompson series, urban fantasy. There's a horror aspect to this series, and I think before urban fantasy really became a thing, horror was the main genre for this book, and I struggle with horror because I don't like, if I'm not horrified, I don't think it's horror. So, yeah, I'm not an expert in that genre. This book is one of the few that is a little bit horrifying. There are some things in here that I'm like, oh. And they are things that have popped up in this series before. So, in general, the Anita Blake series, because this is book like 28, guys. The Anita Blake series is named after Anita Blake, the main character. Anita is a vampire hunter, but she's so much more than that. Even at the beginning, she's not fully dealing with her powers. Her vampire hunter is just her job, in a way, but it's a side job because the thing is, Anita has the ability to raise the dead. It's an innate, God-given, dare I say, ability that she has, like, she can't get rid of. And it's to the point where if she doesn't use her powers, that she will accidentally raise the dead, like in her sleep. But this is also set in the world. It's in modern day St. Louis, or modern day when it started. It's modern day now, but in St. Louis, and this is the world, our regular everyday world, like the Mercy Thompson series. But the difference is that human beings, the government, everything, are aware that there are vampires, that there are were animals. There are a lot of were animals. That there are fae, and there are magic users of various types. So anyway, this is a book where we're zooming in on a particular relationship connection, and that is with the Rat King Raphael. Yeah, I said it, Rat, R-A-T. This is where some of the horrifying things come in. Now, I love Raphael as a character, as one of the men in Anita's life, and he's one of the more practical and straightforward. But we see another side of Raphael in here, and it's just like, man, you are a mess when it comes to your relationships with women. And like Anita and us and myself, getting to see his relationship messiness, like getting some background from him and some of his friends and guards, and then seeing how he deals with current women who are interested in him. I could not help but have Usher's bad habits playing in the back of my head. Like, he messes up his own love life. So yeah, Raphael's having some issues, some people trying to put him out of power to take his place as the king of the rats. If you haven't gotten it yet, Raphael is a were-rat. There's a whole were-rat society. And there is also just rats. And that's one of the horrifying things to me, and it's happened a couple of times before in the series where, like, en masse, all these rats come, and I'm just like, who would not be horrified? These are not were-rats who are huge, and I've gotten used to that idea. All the little ones en masse, it's just like, holy shit. I really liked the were-rat culture, though. It's expressed several times in here that they have a culture that has been passed down unbroken for many decades, unlike most of the other were-animal groups in St. Louis. We also have a very unique power that I thought we really wouldn't see again, really, except with Anita come up, and this is something from Obsidian Butterfly, which is fairly early in the series, but Obsidian Butterfly is very creepy, and her power is also quite horrifying. I think the most horrifying ability, in my personal opinion, in this series is hers. And it comes back up here, and to everyone's surprise, and I was like, holy shit. So there's that. If you're reading this series, if not, then check it out. But yeah, I gave this 4 stars, but there's still a lot of talking, particularly in the beginning, a lot of relationship wrangling, and I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for all of this. And I wasn't, it took me a little while to get into reading it, but once I was in the mood, I was like, okay, and it went by really quickly. And I do want to see more of how this develops, like how the certain things that came to light here develop. Also, again, if you read this series and you haven't gotten to this book, an old enemy comes back here, and wasn't expecting that either. So if you're a fan of the series and haven't read this one yet, you have something to look forward to. And the last book uncompleted, my last anticipated release for anticipated release April, was Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. This is a new to me author. This, I believe, is a debut novel. This is a middle grade fantasy novel. We're following Amari. I enjoyed this. I did not love it though. I gave it 3 stars. I do want to continue. It's book 1 in the Supernatural Investigations series. So, as you can see, Amari's a black girl, and B.B. Alston is a black author. So, we're following Amari after the disappearance of her older brother. Amari was enrolled in this exclusive school under a scholarship, but ever since her brother has disappeared, she's been bullied even more than she was before, and these rich white kids basically bully her and then blame it on her when she protects herself or fights back. And Amari and her mother are threatened with expulsion. The best the principal can do apparently is just to take away her scholarship. Now, Amari comes from the hood, so her mom, being a single parent, can't afford the tuition to the school, so she doesn't know what she's gonna do. And Amari goes back home, and that very same night finds out that her brother left her a special suitcase. Now, her brother has been missing, and the police have been involved, but they can't find him, obviously, and they don't know what he's been doing with his life. He has told Amari and their mother that, you know, he had this special job, and that's where his money was coming from, and the police are automatically like, he was probably doing drugs or something else illegal like that. And because they can find no sign of this job. When this briefcase shows up and finds a message from her brother saying that he has nominated her to be enrolled in a special summer camp. Anyway, so now Amari is learning about this whole secret world that has been under her nose while her mom thinks she's at summer school. And she has to go through these trials to find out, hopefully, what happened to her brother. I'm trying to think, like, I feel like what detracted from this was I might be too old for this. Like, the inability for me to suspend belief in some situations. There's a lot of holes or non-explanations for why certain things happen on a magical aspect. Like, there's a lot of silliness, which is fine, but it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of magical aspects which didn't feel grounded to me. and took away from my enjoyment. And some of the personalities didn't really work for me. Like, there are people who hated Amari, like, as soon as they met her. Her magical abilities turn out to be ones that they, as a society, shun. They think that these people are automatically evil, but she's 11. So that makes no sense. Yeah, there's grown, and I mean, like, it does that there's grown adults who are prejudiced against her, and kids too, but also it's just like, how many hundreds of years have you people existed and literally no one else? Like, thought maybe magicians, maybe these people were not all evil. Like, nobody investigated anything. I don't know. Like, there is one character in here, a not a professor exactly, but he was her brother's mentor when he came in, and he reminds me very much of Mad-Eyed Moody in Harry Potter. A little less crazy though, so but I like that. I liked a lot of the characters. I liked how Amari went back and forth between her regular world and the Bureau, and we see the similarities and the differences. Like, she's here at the Bureau and she's still not accepted. She's still bullied, and it's all ridiculous. The twist at the end I kind of saw coming, but not really. So I don't know. This wasn't bad. Like I said, I gave it 3 stars. I would continue it. So yeah, that was the last book I finished in the month of April. Let me know if you read any of these books and what did you think of them. How are you doing with reading your anticipated releases for 2021? Are you getting to those? Are you holding on and waiting? And like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you are new. Click the notification bell so you know when my next video comes out. I will be doing better now that I have everything I need for my setup again, as far as videos, so it will not be forever until the mid-May wrap-up comes. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!